Hello, my tabletop nemesis. This is the Upstart Warsmith here, and this is my first introductory video into tips and tricks for painting the Iron Warriors in Warhammer 40,000. Now, the main thing we're going to go over in this video is we're not necessarily doing painting right now, but what I am going to go over is a little bit about what paints I use personally for painting my Iron Warriors warband. Now, see, when I first started, which was fairly recent, I had quite a bit to learn about different colors and shading, contrast, things like that. But today, what I'm specifically going to go over is I have 3 examples here of Iron Warriors minis that I used Mark II Tactical Marines for to make. And what I'm specifically going to go over is the different colors I used from the first one here to the second one here to this third one here. That I literally made this one first, second, third. Now there's a lot more I made, but what I specifically want to go over is something that confused me a lot was the gunmetal paint that I had to start off with. So the first one that I painted was this little guy right here. He looks a bit like, let me see if I can get the focus here. But he looks a bit like Obi-Wan Kenobi from Star Wars, honestly, like just the way he looks. And that was completely accidental, I promise you. But the first thing you'll notice is he has a very light gunmetal color, if you really look at him compared to theirs here momentarily. Let me grab this other one here, and I'll show you. But if you look really closely, you'll notice that the one in my left hand has a lot darker shade of gunmetal, whereas the first one here has a lighter shade. So when I first started, I was using the Warhammer app to basically go down my paint list. And with this guy right here, I was told to use lead belcher. Now, thing I had to figure out was with Mark II Tactical Marines, since they're originally a 30K, 30,000 horse heresy model, it specifically directed me to use lead belcher. Now, basically, I found lead belcher was very light, and while it looks nice, it just wasn't dark enough, gritty enough for the Iron Warriors that I had come to know and love in 40K. So I started doing some more research, and what I found was that the Iron Warriors of Warhammer 40K, 40,000, specifically more often now use a paint called literally, well, Iron Warriors, duh. So I'm going to show you the 2 bottles of Iron Warriors and lead belcher side by side. So as you can see, lead belcher has a much lighter color compared to the Iron Warriors one on their outside, as well as when they're applied. And another thing I had to figure out when I first started painting was that metallics seemingly have more moisture inside of them, so you don't really have to wet or thin them near as much. In fact, one of my first, the actual first one I had done when I had applied lead belcher, I thinned it, and unfortunately it wasn't applying like I wanted, and I had found that it kind of gooped up around the feet a little bit to where it looks a little bulkier in some areas. Not badly so, but enough that I realized, okay, maybe I just need to try out of the bottle, and it was a lot better. So on and so forth. You'll notice with my first one here, as I started painting him, let me try to get better lighting and get you in there. I noticed that the feet were a lot more defined, a lot better, as well as just overall, if there was anything I missed, I can just go over with a second little dab of lead belcher or so and not do the whole thing, and it would just fill over quite nicely. Now, mind you, there's a lot of trial and error I had to figure out when I first started, but overall, he turned out really good. I'm very proud of him. But another thing that's a little hard to see, but On the chest here, you'll see like little spots. That is some Iron Warriors that I used to make like little scuffed areas against the lead belcher. One, to kind of see how it looked, but also to see if maybe you could get like that look of, hey, this guy's from the Horus Heresy, but his armor has been kind of blackened over time to get that more current chaosy Iron Warriors feel we see. But overall, turned out really good. Lead belcher is not a bad option, but after kind of figuring out what I personally vibed with, what I liked more, I started using lead belcher more for just like the weaponry, like the guns, bolters, things like that. Now, of course, later I have to maybe redo these plasma, or I'll leave it as is, because apparently there is a chaos plasma and a loyalist regular plasma, which I'll probably show how I did that later, because I had great tips from a gentleman at my local card shop who gave me pointers on doing the plasma. But moving on, I'm going to show you now an example where I used both lead belcher and Iron Warriors. And specifically, this right here on the leg, like the lower greave area, and the feet is Iron Warriors. Whereas with the actual upper greave area, it's lead belcher. So with those side by side, you can clearly see that Iron Warriors is a much darker gunmetal, whereas lead belcher is a much lighter. And really, it works with this one specifically because I was trying to try something different. Because I really, really enjoy making my minis have character, making them have something unique about every individual one. I'm very detail-oriented in that regard. But as you can see, I need to add his decals. And the hazard stripes, it's a little hit and miss sometimes. I mostly freehand it, but I've been trying to find other more accurate methods of painting it, because I'm just such a neat freak. Like, I can even see here on the chest piece where I kind of went off a little bit, so I might need to put some yellow and kind of straighten that out later. But overall, this was my second, and you can clearly see that the lead belcher, trying to keep this focus here, the lead belcher is just a much lighter, while the Iron Warriors is much darker. So do with that information what you will, but I eventually start switching over more to using Iron Warriors, but occasionally I'll use lead belcher to create some like contrast. Now, here's one of my more recent ones where I use nothing but Iron Warriors for the main gunmetal on the body. And you can tell this guy has like, he's got really, like, his is just very dark. But not in a bad way. Like, it honestly looks really great, and I love it, honestly. Like, it's more what I wanted, and I am just a huge fan. And I love, too, like, how even with the darker Iron Warriors, it contrasts great with the Balthazar gold, which is basically the brass metal you're going to be using. Which, with that, let me show the bottle here. This is the Balthazar gold that you're going to need for the brass bit areas, and it is absolutely awesome. Like, it's also good to use like on weapons and stuff, because I found like it's good for like certain details on weapons in general, not just for Iron Warriors. Although if it's like certain filigree where it's like Imperial, like Loyalist, I'll use Gehenna gold and what else? I think it was Stormhost silver for like burnished gold, and a couple other things. I'll do a video on that later because I can't remember them all right now. But overall, that was the biggest distinction I had to learn, was lead belcher and Iron Warriors. Now, both are great options, but if you're trying to run an Iron Warrior specific army, I would highly recommend for 40k sticking primarily to Iron Warriors. But with that being said, another very important thing is shading. So whether it's lead belcher or Iron Warriors, what I do is after I paint it and it's nice and dry and I have all the areas touched I want, I give it a nice shading of Nuln Oil. Nuln Oil is your friend. To my understanding, what it's supposed to do is it's supposed to give that grim, dark, gritty kind of aesthetic that a lot of people love about 40k. And, I mean, the results speak for themselves. They look really good. And mind you, this is some of my first ones. Like, I'm not a long-time professional. I only just recently started, but it's been a fun experience. Now, as for the brass, I want to get into their shading. So there are 2 different shades that I found that are applicable. So, again, when I first started, I was given, I guess, what was the Horus Heresy era scheme. And the shading for the brass, the Belshazzar Gold, is the Agrax Earth shade, which is really good for, like, earthy tones and things like that, as well as just, again, these darker metallics like brass. Now, I didn't see much difference when I switched to Seraphim Sepia with others, but I think maybe if I put them together, it'll be a little more obvious. But essentially, Seraphim Sepia, or Sepia, whichever it is what is currently used for the 40K Iron Warriors brass. And, I mean, it looks good. I mean, I don't see much difference, but it looks good. And it's nice to kind of have something that doesn't take up all my Agrax Earthshade, which the reason it's so low, I accidentally spilled it. So with that, hey, don't spill your shades. They'll go everywhere. They're a lot more liquidy. But with these 2 right here, you'll see that this is the one that I did Agrax Earthshade on, and this is the one that I used Seraphim Sepia. Now, from what I can tell, the Seraphim Sepia does look a little bit darker, maybe, from what I can see. And that's the intention. It's supposed to give you, like, an older, like, more worn brass kind of look. And, I mean, the results speak for themselves. They both look great. They look incredible. I love it. It's awesome. Now, as for the hazard stripes, if there's anything you need to know about these, I forgot to grab the bottle, but the yellow is going to be called Averland Sunset, just yellow Averland Sunset, and the black is, of course, going to be your standard Abaddon black. But something that I've been practicing more is you might see like little gray deals on there if you look really closely. That is from Administratum Gray. And a big thing I want to kind of say about Administratum Gray, it's a layer, and what confused me at first about it was, I guess my autistic brain wasn't thinking, but when you look inside it, it's very liquidy. And at first, that's all I saw was that liquid. I'm thinking, is it kind of like shade? So I would get that liquid and I would put it over the black, and I think that kind of helped do a wash on it. So it didn't look bad, but I didn't realize that there was thick stuff underneath. So definitely, if it's a layer, y'all, please don't be like me. Make sure to check it. That'll save you some trouble down the line. Now, as for shading your yellow, what I use for that is this Cassandora yellow, and it looks great. Every time I put it over anything yellow, it looks great. It's awesome. But with that, there's really not much more to say. What I mostly wanted to go over was just the basics of what I really had to learn first starting Iron Warriors. Now, as the channel moves forward, I will be doing more like demonstrations, like more like actually showing and demonstrating things. But this is just more of a short introductory that I want to do. But before I do go, I want to show this too that's very important, as well as I do want to say, get yourself a can of Chaos Black. It's the spray can. And prime your minis first before starting, because something I did learn with something that I accidentally forgot to prime was that the paint seems to kind of come off a little easier, and it kind of messes with you. And you'll end up having to put on a lot of Storm Shield technical. It's basically, I think it's like a varnish. You put it over everything to keep everything in place over time. But I found when I didn't prime something, either I would miss areas or the paint just wouldn't stay right, and I'd end up having to put this over and then retouch it and then put the shading and put this over again. And I'm one of those very detail-oriented people. I felt so silly about that. You don't want to have to storm shield everything just because you forgot to prime. So always remember to take a can of Chaos Black for anything that's like a darker color and prime it first. But another thing too is when you're doing your decals, art coat this. So this is basically a clear. It's very clear, so you can just put it over the stripes. It won't hurt it, and let it dry, and then you put the decal over it, and then you storm shield it. Now with that too, I'll also mention this is the 30K Horus Heresy Iron Warriors insignia, whereas this right here is the current 40K Chaos Iron Warriors insignia. So just giving you a heads up, there are different transfer sheets out there, but what I did like was mixing and matching a little bit. So like with this guy, he's got the Chaos Heraldry, and on the other side I gave him a Horus Heresy Era veteran insignia. So it's kind of a nice way to like, hey, he's a veteran from the Long War, and he's still like got some of his old heraldry, but he has modified it for like the more chaotic use of the 40K timeline. So, yeah, no, definitely, like, what I love about this is it really encourages creativity. It really creates just sitting down, having fun, your imagination, you know. Just, that's what really got me into Warhammer 40K. You know, being a military historian on my other channel and stuff, it just kind of vibed with me. Just like these future soldier, angry plastic men running around battling each other to die. It's a fun side outlet, and I really enjoy it, and that's why I recently rededicated this secondary channel I had to this, because I felt like it was something that'd be very helpful to other people just starting, as I myself recently started. So with that, my tabletop nemesis, I hope this little short introductory really helped answer a few of your starting questions for just getting started. And I really hope that you enjoy your journey in the grim and dark future of, of tabletop gaming. And with that, I want to wish you all a great night and have a good day.